What's up, YouTube? Today we're talking about the Micro T. So tiny. Hello, YouTube. I'm Drew, and this is Hobbies and Hot Rods. So the Micro T, I've always wanted one of these. I almost bought one when they were out new, and I think then it was like 90 bucks. Of course, they'd been out a while when they were $90, but I came close to buying one a couple times, and I'm like, 90 bucks for that? I don't know. It's tiny. When am I going to play with it? But they discontinued them, and now I wish I'd gotten one, because now these are 100 bucks all day long on eBay. And the Baja version you can't find hardly anywhere. They have wider tires in the back and skinnier tires in the front of the Baja, as far as I know. I know they did on the Mini T. But I 3D printed this little stand. This is just the same stand I used for everything else, but it's scaled way down. If you decide to print one of these for an RC car, it's pretty easy to match to the size. Being this is a 36 scale, you can... The overall dimension is always in Cura, so you can just go to where the overall dimension is and scale down until you get to about the size you want and compare it to something. Like I always hold at the bottom, it's just a little bit bigger on the base than it is on the top, so that's pretty much how I decided how big I wanted this one. And then if you scale the upper piece up just a little bit, you can make this hole tighter so it doesn't wiggle a lot. And I got this for 25 bucks basically. I got this in the Emax for $175 the pair, and the guy wanted 200 bucks. Still a pretty good deal. And so it depends on how you want to look at this. If you consider I had to replace the ESC on the Emax, maybe it's $75. This is 125. I don't know. But he had fancier wheels on it. These are a lot skinnier. He probably just drove it around on the street. I drove it around in the basement. I had 2 lithium batteries with this when I got it, and 1 NIM battery, and they were both bad. This thing had been sitting for years. But inside, it's a little dusty. You replace the battery from the bottom, this cover comes off, and there's these 2 little tiny Phillips screws, and you take those out, and I 3D printed another frame. I was going to build one of these before I found this one because I didn't want to spend $100 on eBay for one. And I found the model on GrabCAD and converted it to an STL and printed it. And I got most of the car done, the frame, the A-arms, and the hardest thing I found was trying to find an ESC from one of these because nobody parts these out. And they've discontinued the ESC. I'm sure you could find one that would work, but I kind of wanted Team Losi. And this is a PETG frame, so it's pretty strong. It is nice that there is a complete version of this on GrabCAD that you can get models off of to print parts, because not everything is so easy to find for this. The little straps down here, these move up and down with the suspension arm, and they flex. Well, these are, you run into something, these break no problem. I've 3D printed those out of PETG too. This one hasn't broken on me yet. I wish I could find some aluminum shocks so you could oil dampen these. It's so squishy, but it does run really well. I took an E-flat battery. This one looks horrible because I forgot how small it was. I charged it a ½ amp. Either one bad because I charged it too much amperage, or I ran it too low because this doesn't have a LiPo alarm on it for low voltage. And I recently got a low voltage alarm, but it wouldn't fit in here. I don't think it would. One of the Venom ones, it's probably way too big. So when I got this they actually made Team Losi LiPo batteries for these, and I don't know if everybody was just stopping before the battery got real dead or if they held together. Because it's not for a LiPo setup. And this one I think I ran pretty dead a couple times, but I think the reason it's bad is because I charged it too much. It's only 120 milliamp hour 2S battery, and 120 milliamp hour at most you could charge at 0.12 amps. So I charged this at a half amp, and that's probably way too much for it. And it was still in the car, and this cover was bulged way out, is how I knew right off the bat. So always pay attention to your batteries when you're charging them. So I've got another one of these on order, and I basically just cut the pigtail off of the original Team Losi ones and soldered it on here. I've already cut this one off because it's bad. So otherwise I'd do a drive around video for you today, because this thing really does get up and go with a 7.4 volt. And I was going to show you the original charging container. You would have put 8 AA's in this and then plugged it into that, and it would have sat until I guess the light went off or something. But gosh, now they have I think the closest thing to this small is Team Associated has their little truck, and you have to charge it with radio or transmitter, and that's cool and all, but they're just not the same. You can take these all the way down to the frame. It's still a real RC car. Very, very tiny parts. If you lose a E-ring for this, you're probably not going to find it. It is so small. But I did also 3D print some wheels and tires. This is TPU. It's pretty stiff compared to rubber, but it is cool that you can make something soft enough you can call it a tire. The wheel is PETG. So the infill stuck on here is why it's not straight through. And the rear tire, once again, got the model for this on GrabCAD. If you would like to know how to convert GrabCAD files to STLs, comment below. We'll do a video on that. So I got a battery on the way. I got 2 of them on the way. We'll do a video on this thing driving around in the basement, or let Jetta chase it around. So, well, I forgot to mention, this is the old radio. I call them radio because in my day, or when I was a kid, everything was a radio controlled car because it was a radio signal. Everything was 25 megahertz or 75 megahertz. Now they're all 2.4 gigahertz, and they have radio channel hopping. So then you had to pay attention to what your buddy had, or if you started to control somebody else's, your frequency was probably 0.001 or 0.01 close to the other guy's. So like this still has a crystal in it, so you know it's a real radio. Still works fine. Never had much issue with these. I'm sure they're not as durable as the 2.4 gigahertz, but if you buy an old car with a crystal radio, don't be afraid to use it. I'm sure it's fine. It's not to mention hardly anybody has one anymore, so you don't have to worry about controlling somebody else's. But there is more radio frequency with them. I mean, there is more radio interference with them for sure. But so I put all these out here. Okay, this is 36 scale, and this is the Mini T, which looks huge next to it, which is 18th scale. And here is a Team Associated T3, which is 10th scale. So you can see the difference there big time.